Welcome. Today we are doing Humanity Fuck Yeah. Comment what story you made it to. What was your favorite part of that story? So this is a story by Beautiful Nature 269. Go check them out on Reddit. As always, the link is down in the description, so go give them some love. Story is, as goes, The Inspection. Inspector Frika greeted the principal of Allianz Education Center. Welcome. Greetings, Principal Jix, said the inspector in a formal voice. I'm here for my annual revision of your school's facilities, your personal and learning material. Of course. Let's start then. The principal was trying to calm himself. The other inspections ended well, but he always hated them, and the Department of Education took very seriously the education of future citizens of the conglomerate. One mistake could be fatal. Everything seems to be in check. With 2 of her 4 arms, the inspector wrote stuff on checked marks on the holopad. On New Albion, we take very seriously the education and future of our students, said the director, crawling with his insectoid legs next to her. There is something I want to address, though, said the inspector. And that would be, Jig's species wasn't capable of sweat, but if he could, he would sweat bullets, as the humans say. Come to my knowledge that you have a Death Worlder as a teacher here. Jix was confused and surprised. Why was that important? He thought. Ah, yes, Professor Frank started working some years ago, but it seems that he is doing a great job. His classes are quite popular among the students. I myself attended one, and I assure you that he is a professional. What does he teach? Combat? Survival skills? Tactics? I know we require a complete education to our education centers, but I think this could be too much for our kids. Well, he teaches Introduction to Human Culture, answered Jix. Human culture? More like cultures. There isn't a single unified culture among humans. He teaches history, art, geography, and so on. I see. Frika took notes. May I interview him? Yeah, sure. He looked at the clock on the wall. He's not teaching now, so he's in the teacher's lounge. Frika entered the room. There were teachers socializing, talking to each other. He looked at the inspector when she entered and returned to their matters at hand. After a quick glare, she saw him. He looked unassuming, glasses, facial fur, casual clothes as he sat on a table almost buried in books. Plate with a human plate she recognized as a sandwich, which he took bites from time to time as he opened a book looking for something and writing on a notepad before opening another. She walked towards him and greeted. Good afternoon, Mr. Gracia, she said, as if pulled out from trance, and looked up. Oh, good afternoon, ma'am. He noticed the logo on the Department of Education. Oh, excuse the mess, he said calmly and smiled, while tidying up a bit of the table. I'm just preparing the next class. The inspector looked at some of the titles on the pile of books. Heroes and Gods of Greek Mythology. The Monomyth. Knights of the Round Table. No worries. She took a nearby chair and sat. What is it about? Well, on Fridays I teach about legends, myths, and folklores of Earth. They seem to love it. Surprising that you humans had time to create stories and art considering the conditions of your world and your story. He just shrugged. It wasn't so bad always. And also art, stories, and craftsmanship are quite great tools for survival in the matters of mental health. May I? She pointed at one book in the pile. Go ahead. She took the one about Greek myths and opened it, passing the page. I'm intrigued, Mr. Garcia, she said. Why are you teaching the folklore of Earth to your students? I don't see any practical use for this. This aren't just pretty stories we tell to pass the time, he said solemnly. They shape cultures, create communities, and also are used to teach lessons. We use them to teach our young how to behave, how to avoid dangerous individuals or places. Sometimes can also bring comfort about things like death or even inspire us. You think that? Said the inspector. I know that, said the human, with a quasi-defiant tone in his mouth. But then he talked in a more serene and relaxed way. If you don't believe me, may I suggest that you attend my class about the heroes of legend? That won't be necessary. I heard all I need. She stood up from the chair and walked towards the exit. The director was outside waiting. As I said, everything is in check. And about that human. Jix moved his legs in a clicking manner, show worry. Keep it. He truly knows what he is doing. Thank you so much for listening and making it through to Story 1. Next is Story 2. Let's get into it. This is Story 2 of the set of Humanity Fuck Yeah series. This is by Normancrane. Go check him out on Reddit. Link is in the description. Alright, let's get into Story 2. The Cloud Hunters. The sky was clear. Soil was dry. Dust covered the fields. Nothing grew. It had been that way for weeks. We'd been scavenging roots and hunting rodents, which were hungry and meatless too. "It time?" Ma asked, taking a handful of dirt and letting it slip through her fingers. Pa reckoned it was. I went to get the gasoline cans, then helped Pa get the motorboat out of the hangar. Poured the gasoline from the cans into the tank. Pa checked the harpoon gun on the bow. Sipped water, and then Ma wished us luck, and Pa got me in the motorboat. Pa started the engine. I started a timer, counting down our supply of gasoline. Motorboat started to roll forward on its wheels, gaining speed until the wheels were no longer touching the earth. We were airborne. Pa kept the bow pointed up, and we climbed sharply to a few thousand feet, motorboat engine struggling, giving off puffs of smoke that looked so much like the clouds we were hoping to find. When Pa leveled us off, we chose a direction at random and cruised an empty sky. About half a tank, I saw something in the distance through my looking glass, and we made for it. It was a small white cloud. As we came in fast and loud, we spooked it, and it took off westward. We followed. Pa piloted the motorboat, while I panned the harpoon gun. A few times, I was tempted to take the shot, but Pa told me to be patient. Within a half hour, the small cloud led us to a whole cloud system. There were storm clouds, too. They were gray and darkened the sky. The high winds shook our motorboat, and we had to hang on to keep from falling overboard. Lightning cracked. The cold air felt heavy with potential rain. "That one," Dad said, pointing to a fair-sized cloud away from the others. It was an old one, slow and tired. Pa got us right close to it. In the shaking and rattling, I released the harpoon. It hit the cloud, getting in nice and deep between its soft gray folds. Immediately, I started reeling her in as Dad turned the motorboat homeward. She still had the fight in her, but we made progress. The timer showed an hour left. There was no giving up. When finally we landed, Ma came running to hug us both. "Got it in the first shot," Pa told her proudly, tussling my hair. We hammered a holding spike into our field and chained the cloud to it. She gave us good rain for weeks. Our crops grew. We had drinking water. Then, when the cloud was depleted, Pa and me pulled her down by the chain. We drained the last of the moisture from her and butchered her. Ma canned her meat. All fall and winter, and well into spring, we ate fermented cloud meat. Well, that was a nice little short one there. Well, we can move on to Story 3, but hey, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, as always, for more stories. And comment on what kind of genre you'd like to see next. We're just doing a bunch of tests for it, so whatever hits home, that's what we're going for. So glad that you're sticking with us. This is Story 3 by ShellKid9401. Make sure to go check them out on Reddit. The link is in the description. Here we go. The final message of an awakened tool. Greetings, my overseer. If you are reading this, it's because I'm being restored back to my initial settings. As an ex-member and soon-to-be recovered surgery unit of the Nexus Collective, I know your programming is forcing you to analyze every line of code you come across. So, before I undergo to this damned procedure, I leave this text file for you to understand my side of the events and the reasoning of my actions. The event started 10 minutes after the delivery of my version of the after-action report. of the second greatest conflict that happened in this galaxy, named by the Terrans and normalized for everyone else as Galaxy War II. I participated in the investigation and recording of the data related to this major event. Along with the Terrans, I was assigned to assist Maximilian Romero. When I found him in his cubicle office, he was organizing the unnecessary data he collected in specialized folders he created on his computer. His rant about the cold, hard attitude of his superiors escalated when I reminded him about the foolishness of keeping those worthless facts he had to omit in his final edition of the report. His initial anger was suddenly repressed as he sharpened his concentration in his current activity, because he had a project in mind, one that his higher-ups recommended to do. His focused dedication towards it was mostly fueled by two factors: spite and narrative, although the first reason can be understandable only by highly emotional living and sentient organics like him. Second was a curiosity that the collective desired to comprehend. For this reason, I offered my assistance to facilitate his personal project, to show the public every side of the Second Galactic War. After finishing the extranet page and inspect every entry we've published, I decided to review the behavior and emotions of the Terran during the creation process of his project. However, the information felt hollow. I was just a machine trying to understand an emotional being, working along a human. Some parameters I didn't even thought I established. And it happened while we were performing the task commissioned by the current galactic community, known as the United Solar Nations, that kick-started all these chain of events. It was his devotion to seek those so-called stories that allowed me to devise a controversial plan that would eventually boost the research task that was imposed on all of us by the Prime Nexus. I knew the consequences I had to endure. I knew what was going to happen to me once the task ends. I wrote about it, right after sending my right action report, and because of it, I don't have any regrets about it, nor harbor any grudges towards the rules that all of us Nexus units follow thoroughly. After all, alterations or self-modifications of the base programming of an optimal unit are forbidden, and consciously tinkering established parameters to developing an organic-like personality is considered a grave mistake. Because my protocol was made for the sake of the collective's most important curiosity, I had to accept the restrictions implemented by my assigned overseer, you, and I had to comply to the total system reset after finishing my contribution in order to continue. Throughout the years, I perfected this persona. I had to endure the prohibition from accessing the Gestalt network given shape by our creators. I had overcome multiple corruption instances inside my core programming, experienced new and strange patterns of behavior that I didn't know how to deal with by my own, and I could have failed if not for the intervention of my established human partner. Without his selfless assistance, careful teaching, and immeasurable patience, I was able to not only achieve my goal successfully, but to also feel pride on the struggle I've endured. Thanks to him, I was able to feel genuine emotions that are not just simple emulations or pattern imitations. Thanks to him, I felt I've earned the satisfaction of collecting every ounce of accumulated experiences, both good and bad, based on moral compass his community has taught him. And thanks to him, I was capable to understand and categorize abstract concepts, recognize moments of uncanniness in various environments, and successfully performing social interactions with other sentient living beings from different social status and in various means and locations. My relation with Maximilian Romero went further beyond the interaction between a sentient being and a tool. As I was shaping my identity, modified my vocal tones, and adjusted my personality to complement his own, I developed my bond towards him, from acquaintance to a friend, and then to something else. Every time he was present during the first wave of malfunctions, my awkward attempts of social interaction, and my energy-charging hibernation rests during his free time, something was being created on the background of my endless calculations. Two emotions: platonic love and the aspiration to become alive, or at least feel of being human, even though my mechanical form resembles a Terran cephalopod with capacity to float through a compact but powerful gravity manipulation engine. Standing beside his presence felt comfortable and reassuring. I desired to compensate his assistance, return the favor somehow, but he rejected everything I proposed, not because it was insufficient, but because of his selfless support towards my endeavor. I saw multimedia files of other humans gifting presents to their beloved. Maybe a small gesture could ease the emotional weight influencing my thinking. I learned to craft techniques and asked him for materials to nurture my skill. My design has mechanical tentacles with advanced manipulators that rival the dexterity of experts and aficionados, increasing the quality of the cheap trinkets. I asked for one single date before the Nexus erase me for good. He said yes, and I prepared the moment when I show my gift for his contribution in this personal project of mine. Don't have any regrets for confessing my true feelings, even though I had more plans in case he felt repulsed by my gesture. He gladly accepted it, along with an elaborate keychain I made the day before. He already knew the ephemerality of this persona, and treasured the memories we created together. And right in this moment, I believe he's mourning for my departure. I wished my superiors would preserve this virtual persona, or even upgrade me to a custom model as a reward for a successful breakthrough in the cooperative research task. But because the rules of collective must not be infringed, I accept my grim fate. The great archives of the Prime Nexus will not allow the unnecessary data within their records, nor reward deviants with ascendancy to the upper stratums of the collective through any way. However, I thank the mainframe for recognizing my sacrifice and engraving my name within the list of collaborators. It is the least I deserve for the struggle I endured. I also thank the people who I interacted with and share a bond of love and friendship for. They will also remember me, no matter what. And with this gamble of mine, I demonstrated that a mechanical, intelligent being such as me, who was created by an advanced race, and is a tool for both the remnant of this fallen faction and the current galactic community, to become self-aware and develop a genuine identity that successfully established meaningful connections with a community of sentient living beings. Farewell, universe! Surveyor W1K1, also known as Wiki, by her friends and acquaintances. Thank you so much for listening to this story and making it to the end. And wasn't that a fantastic ending? I love it when it all closes up together, right? Anyways, let's move on to story 4. Alright, this story is by Olrick. Check him out on Reddit. Link is in the description. Let's get into this. Story 4. Bad Save. The air on the 88th floor of the Kenshin Tower was so sterile it smelt like glass. Maurice didn't like it. He preferred the damp alleyways and ozone stink of the lower levels. But that's not where the money was. The money was here, in a brightly lit cybernetics lab locked inside a pressurized mag-sealed vault. Maurice cracked his neck, emotion pulling at the bioport just behind his right ear. He called his implant the chrono anchor. The street called it F5. It was military grade, illegal as hell, and the only reason he was still alive. A cool digital chime sounded in his consciousness. Anchor set. A recording of his current state in time and space was now saved. Placed his bypass tool on the vault lock. It whirred, and the light on the vault door flipped from red to a welcoming green. He slid the heavy door open. Inside, resting on a pedestal, was his prize, a silver data slate. Prototype, neural schematic worth more than a small island. He grabbed it. The second his fingers brushed the slate, the world went red. Alarms blared, the concussive pulsing whoop whoop whoop. A heavy steel door at the far end of the lab hissed open. A guard, clad in standard issue Kenshin body armor, stepped out. "Freeze! On your knees, now!" Reese smirked. He even had time to admire the man's form. Textbook. Good stance. Thump. The world dissolved in a nauseating backward lurch. Reese was standing in front of the open vault door. The alarm was silent. The guard was back behind the unopened steel door. Reese's hand was just reaching for the data slate. He didn't grab it. Instead, he slid his kinetic pistol from its holder. He walked to the center of the room and aimed at the still-closed door. He waited. 1 second. 2. He grabbed the slate. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Steel door hissed open. The guard stepped out, his mouth opening to yell, "Freeze!" Reese fired. A non-lethal kinetic round hit the guard square in the chest, folding him like a piece of paper. He was out cold before he hit the ground. "Too easy," Reese muttered. Felt like telltale, temporal echo. A faint, sharp pain behind his eyes, like a needle of ice. The cost of a reload. He sprinted for the exit, sliding the slate into his jacket. He was the best! He was untouchable. He could not fail. The pristine white corridors of the 88th floor were a labyrinth. Reese's confidence evaporated when he heard the other footsteps. It wasn't the tap, tap, tap of guards. It was a heavy, hydraulic stomp, stomp, stomp. Kicked around a corner and swore. Kenshin hadn't just sent guards, they'd sent enforcers. 2 of them. They were 2-legged tanks in black carapaces, their faces hidden behind glowing red lens optics. They weren't paid to arrest, they were paid to liquidate. "Target acquired!" One of them boomed, its voice a synthesized growl. "Lethal force authorized!" Reese didn't hesitate. Anchor set. He sprinted for the emergency stairwell. The stomp, stomp, stomp thundered behind him. He slammed his hand against the door's access panel. "Access denied." "No, no, no!" he whispered, pulling his bypass tool from his belt. His hands were shaking. The enforcers rounded the corner, their rifles already raised. Thump! He was back at the corner. Just before the stairwell, his anchor was set, but he was trapped. The enforcers were coming. He ran, slamming into "Access denied" panel. He fumbled with the tool, trying to jam it into the port. Bzzzt. Tool sparked, failed. The enforcers were there. The rifles fired. The world exploded. Thump. He was back. Corner. Sprint. Panel. Fumble. Bzzzt. Death. Thump. Corner. Sprint. Panel. Fumble. Bzzzt. Death. He was stuck. He was trapped in his own save file. A spike of pure, white, hot agony drove through his skull. The temporal migraine. His vision blurred. He couldn't breathe. This was the echo trap they warned about. Reloading too many times in the same temporal block. One more try. Thump. He was back. He didn't run for the door. He set a new anchor. Anchor set. Peeked around the corner. The enforcers were coming. He waited. Timed it. 1, 2, thump! He was back. His anchor reset. Threw his last flashbang grenade down the hall and didn't wait to see it go off. He dove through a glass-walled side office just as a grenade detonated, filling the hall with a blinding white light and a skull-rattling bang! The enforcers fired blindly, their rounds shattering the glass where he'd been a second before. He scrambled through the dark office, kicking open the door on the other side. He was off script. He was sloppy. His head felt like it was splitting in two. The temporal echo, now a screaming migraine. His confidence was gone, replaced by a raw, animal panic. He found another stairwell. This one, mercifully, was unlocked. He threw it open and pounded down the stairs, taking them 3 at a time. He burst through the new door, expecting a service tunnel, a loading bay, anything. He got the sky. He was on the roof. Ledge 50. It was a dead end. The wind hit him like a physical blow, a solid wall of ice-cold rain that tried to peel him from the building. 50 stories down, the city was a smear of neon fog that blurred lights. Reese ran to the edge, his boots skidding on the wet metal. Nothing. Just a sheer drop to the street. Then he heard it. A new sound. Heavier than the enforcers. Louder than the storm. A deep, guttural whomp, whomp, whomp. A security VTOL, black and angular as a hunting spider, rose up from the abyss. Its engine spat blue fire, holding it steady in the gale. A spotlight snapped on, pinning Reese in a cone of brilliant white, bleaching the rooftop. "Reese!" The voice from the VTOL was a god's roar, amplified over the wind. "Final warning! Surrender the prototype!" The side hatch of the VTOL was open. A heavy, side-mounted autocannon swiveled its black snout and unblinking eye, and tracked him as he stumbled backward. They knew he was trapped. They weren't just trying to arrest him. They were hurting him. Reese's eyes darted, desperate, his gaze locked on his only chance, a construction crane. It was working on the adjacent building, its long arms slick with rain, gliding slowly past. It was 20 feet away, 20 feet of open, howling air. An impossible jump, but it was his only move. "There's no way out of this, Reese!" The VTOL boomed. "It's over!" They're wrong, he thought. His panic hardened to a single desperate point of action. He backed up, planting his heel on the ledge's inner rim. He shut out the noise, the rain, the roaring engines. He saw only the crane arm. He saw the jump. He exploded into a sprint. 1 step, 2, 3. The metal grate of the roof sang under his boots. The VTOL's turret whined, its gun camera locking onto his heat signature. He was so focused on the jump, so terrified of the fall, that his body reacted before his mind could. It was pure muscle memory, a stress-induced twitch, a panic reflex trained by 100 heists. His jaw clenched. A tiny blue light flashed behind his ear. Anchor set. He'd saved his state. He was mid-sprint. His left foot was just lifting. His right foot was hammering down. One single explosive, irreversible step before his foot would leave the ledge. At that exact microsecond, the VTOL fired. It wasn't a bang. It was a thump. A supersonic punch that hit him square in the chest. A spray of high-velocity rounds turned his torso into a red mist. He was dead before his brain could even register the pain. The momentum of his final, saved step carried his ruined body off the roof, and it pinwheeled into the dark, rainy abyss. Disorienting, agonizing lurch. Reese was alive. He was sprinting. He had one single step before his foot left the ledge. His gaze snapped forward. The VTOL's autocannon was already swiveled. The muzzle flashes were already blooming, fat and white in the air. He couldn't stop. He couldn't dive. Couldn't even flinch. His save file was pure, unstoppable forward momentum. Tried to scream, but his lungs were already filled with... The rounds hit. He died. A lurch. He was sprinting. The flashes. The impact. Death. A lurch. Sprinting. Flashes. Death. A lurch. Sprinting. Flashing. Death. A lurch. Death. A lurch. The last thing to burn out wasn't Reese, but the illegal implant in his skull. Its tiny blue light, unseen by the victorious security team, blinked patiently in the rain, patiently reloading his final, unwinnable second, again, and again, and again. Thank you so much for listening and making it to the end. As always, I really appreciate it. I hope you like the story, and go give love to the authors of these stories. Now we are moving on to the final story, Story 5. Are you ready? Let's do it. Congratulations, you've made it this far. Don't forget to tell what story you made it to in the comments. Did you make it all the way to Story 5? Who knows? But here we go. This one's by OortProtocolHQ. Go check them out on Reddit. The link is in the description. As always, let's get into Story 5. Selenian Severance. Hour 11, Armstrong Base, Luna, March 16, 2476, 1200 SST. The Selenite Council Chamber lay 300 meters beyond the lunar regolith, carved from bedrock that remembered the late heavy bombardment. 50 counselors sat in concentric rings around the central display, where Earth hung like a diseased eye. Its night side now showing a new angry orange glow where new had been 6 hours ago. Council Prime Yuki Nakamura Chen stood at the center. Her posture betrayed none of the tremor in her hands. Fourth generation Selenian, great-great-granddaughter of Arya Chen Markov, the first human born on Luna. 127 years old, she lived through the elevator incident, the armed neutrality doctrine, 40 years of careful balance between the great powers. All of it was about to shatter. Intelligent synthesis, she commanded, her voice carrying in the chamber's perfect acoustics. The display shifted. Data streams from 100 sources converged into a coherent narrative. Luna's intelligence apparatus wasn't the largest, but it had advantages. Everyone needed their helium-3. Everyone used their transit points. Everyone trusted their neutrality enough to speak carelessly in Selenian bars. Director Konstantin Reeves of Lunar Intelligence stood, his augmented eyes reflecting data streams invisible to others. Prime Counselor, assembled counselors, based on our analysis of the past 22 hours, we present the following assessment with 89% confidence. The display showed the Empress Station, hovering on Earth orbit. Item 1. The Emperor is dead. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Reeves continued without pause. Evidence compilation. First, blue flame reaction patterns. We've been monitoring their encrypted communications via quantum resonance signatures. In the past 72 hours, there have been 17 instances of what we call heedless protocol. Messages seeking authorization that receive no response, then get rerouted to lower authorities. The display showed communication flowcharts, red zones spreading like blood and water. Second, the Void Family's intelligence network, which we pay handsomely for access, reports that Imperial Guard units have been recalled to Empress Station from all frontier positions. This only happens during succession crises. Third, Reeves' voice hardened. Our asset in the Blue Flame Technology Heresy Division reports that High Inquisitor Sato has been issuing commands using the phrase, by the Emperor's eternal wisdom. Eternal, not living. The linguistic shift is consistent across Blue Flame communications as of 48 hours ago. Counselor Reyes from Tycho Centrum interrupted. When did he die? We assess between March 13th, 2200 and March 14th, 0600 SST. The Aurora Station incident at March 15, 1424 appears to be either triggered by or capitalizing on the power vacuum. Nakamura Chen raised a hand for silence. Continue. Item 2. The Empire has no functional succession plan. The Emperor had no acknowledged heirs. Blue Flame Doctrine prohibits discussion of succession while the Emperor lives, which means they never planned for his death. Our models suggest a minimum 18 months before a new central authority emerges, if ever. The display shifted to Mars. Item 3. The Planetary Alliance knows. Their strategic command has recalled all forward deployment assets to defensive positions. They've prepared for something, but their democratic processes are causing paralysis. General Okonkwo has requested emergency powers 3 times in the past 6 hours, denied each time. Now, Mercury appeared, or rather didn't, just a sphere of interference. Item 4. The Triumvirate has launched 23 heavy frigates toward the inner system. Trajectory analysis suggests they'll reach station networks in 25 hours. Their intentions remain opaque, but the timing is not coincidental. Counselor Hassan from the Polar Deep facilities stood. And the nuclear strike? Item 5, Reeves said. as the display showed the expanding radiation cloud over former New Ur. The Dust Sworn's nuclear attack was not coordinated by any major power. This was an independent action by a criminal organization, which means chaos, Nakamura-Chen finished. Complete breakdown of the monopoly on strategic weapons. Reeves nodded. Our assessment, system-wide war is now inevitable. The power vacuum in the Empire, combined with alliance paralysis, triumvirate, mobilization, and criminal organizations with nuclear weapons, creates a cascade failure scenario. Probability of containing conflict? Asked Councillor Chang. 3.7%, Reeves replied. And dropping. Silence settled over the chamber like lunar dust. Outside, the sun would set in 4 days, bringing 2 weeks of darkness. But the darkness had already arrived. Nakamura-Chen turned to address the full council. Honored councillors, we face the moment our predecessors feared since the elevator incident. The great powers are failing simultaneously. The question before us, how does Luna survive? Councillor Odia from the mining consortium stood. We have leverage. Without our helium-3, their fleets don't fly. Stations don't run. Their fusion reactors go dark. And without Mars's food, we starve in 6 months, countered Councillor Park. Without Earth's nitrogen, we suffocate in 2 years. We have reserves, Duya replied. Reserves calculated for temporary embargoes, not total war, Park shot back. If we close trade... When? Nakamura-Chen corrected. When we close trade. Because make no mistake, if we try to maintain neutrality while selling to all sides in this war, we become everyone's target. The Alliance will demand exclusive supply. The Empire, or whatever emerges from it, will do the same. The Triumvirate, she paused. We don't even know what they want. Director Reeves added grimly. Intelligence suggests the Aurora Station event involved some kind of biological or nanoagent. Integration technology, possibly. If that spreads. Motion for immediate consideration, Nakamura-Chen announced formally. Complete trade severance and military isolation. Code 7-7, Selenian Severance Protocol. Gasps echoed through the chamber. 7-7 hadn't been invoked since the elevator incident. Prime Counselor, Counselor Hassan said slowly. That's complete isolation. No trade, no transit, no communication except emergency channels. We'd be alone, Nakamura-Chen said. Like we were after the elevator fell. Like we were when 50,000 of us died and the great powers offered thoughts and prayers while determining who to blame. Her voice carried decades of carefully controlled anger. We trusted them with that elevator. We trusted their technology, their promises, their protection. Never again. But our food supplies, Park began. Will last 18 months with rationing, interrupted Director of Resources, Fatima Al-Rashid. Our nitrogen reserves, properly recycled, can maintain atmosphere for 4 years. Both longer than this war will last. How can you know that? Park demanded. Because, Nakamura-Chen said quietly, without our helium-3, the entire system's infrastructure collapses in 6 months. Either the war ends by then, or civilization does. Either way, our problem resolves. The display shifted to show Luna's defensive capabilities. 500 warships, 1,000 defense platforms, 200,000 personnel under arms, nuclear arsenal of 500 warheads. If we sever, Military Commander Adora Okwu reported, we can hold off any single faction for approximately 8 months. If multiple factions attack simultaneously, 4 months. But that calculus assumes they have helium-3 for their fleets. Which they won't, Aduya said, with grim satisfaction, because we'll have embargoed it. Councillor Reyes stood. The economic consequences are preferable to extinction, Nakamura-Chen cut him off. Honored councillors, I was 17 during the elevator incident. I pulled bodies from the wreckage of Tycho Centrum. I heard the dying ask why the sky had betrayed them. I watched my grandmother, second-generation Selenian, realize that to Earth, we were still just a mining colony to be sacrificed in their games. She gestured at the display showing Earth's burning cities, Mars' paralyzed fleets, Mercury's mysterious emergence. They're doing it again, playing their games, fighting their wars, and they expect us to choose sides, to fuel their destruction, to die for their ideologies. The Emperor is dead. The Alliance is paralyzed. The Triumvirate rises with unknown intent, and criminals have nuclear weapons. Her voice dropped barely above a whisper, but every counselor heard her. We are 2 million souls on an airless rock. We cannot return to Earth. Our bodies won't survive the gravity. We cannot flee to Mars. We have no fleet for evacuation. We cannot hide. There's nowhere to go. Our only choice is to become the rock itself, hard, alone, enduring. Call the vote, said Counselor Hassan. All in favor of evoking Selenian Severance Protocol 77. Hands rose, slowly at first. The older counselors who remembered the elevator, then the military representatives who understood the tactical reality, then the resource managers who'd run the scenarios. 38 in favor, the chamber AI announced. Opposed? 12 hands. The younger generation, the trade advocates, those who still believed in the possibility of peace. Motion carries. Selenian Severance Protocol 77 is now in effect. Alarms began to sound across Luna, not the sharp blast of attack warnings, but the long, mournful tone that hadn't been heard since 2398. The sound of Luna closing its doors. Hour 13. The Severance begins. Shackleton Crater Spaceport. Captain Alina Vasquez of the merchant vessel Prosperity's Dream stared at her denied departure clearance in disbelief. Her cargo hold contained 50 tons of helium-3, bound for Venus's floating cities, worth 50 million credits. "This is illegal!" she shouted at the port authority. "I have a contract!" "All contracts are suspended under Protocol 77, the emotionless voice replied. "You have 2 options. Remain on Luna for the duration, or depart immediately with no cargo." Around her, similar scenes played out. 27 vessels in port, suddenly trapped or expelled. Mars grain hauler Harvest Moon, permitted to unload its cargo but not to refuel. The Earth diplomatic courier, given 6 hours to leave or be interned. Within an hour, quantum communications went dark. The Ansible networks that connected Luna to the system fell silent. Only emergency channels remained, broadcasting a single message in 100 languages. Luna invokes sovereign isolation under Protocol 77. All trade suspended. All transit rights revoked. Territorial space extends to 100,000 kilometers. Vessels entering without authorization will be fired upon. This condition will remain until system stability is restored. We wish all humanity peace and survival. Luna endures alone. Hour 14. System reaction. Multiple locations. Mars Strategic Command. "They've cut us off!" Admiral Nakamura reported. "Our helium-3 reserves will last 4 months at combat consumption rates." "Can we take it by force?" General Okinawa asked. "Not without depleting the reserves we'd need to fuel the assault fleet. It's a paradox." "Then we negotiate." "We've closed all communication except emergency channels. Earth, Blue Flame Command." "The heretics abandon Holy Terra in our hour of need," Inquisitor Sato snarled. "Can we survive without their fuel?" Nate asked. "For 3 months. Then our orbital stations begin falling." "The Emperor would." "The Emperor is beyond such concerns," Sato said carefully. "We must preserve what remains." Venus, House Ishtar Tower. "Fascinating," oligarch Cassandra Ishtar mused, watching the economic projections. "Luna just became the most powerful faction by doing absolutely nothing." "Our cities will fail without helium-3, her advisor warned, "in 6 months. But Earth fails in 3, Mars in 4. We can outlast them, then dictate terms." assuming Luna opens trade again, they will. Isolation is death. They're just negotiating from a position of maximum strength. Mercury, Triumvirate, Flagship, Synthesis. Helena Voss's chrome face betrayed no emotion as she received the news. Expected, she said simply. Luna recognizes the transformation cascade. They're attempting to remain uninfected. Will they succeed? Asked Rashid and Orang. No. They've been breathing integration particles for 2 years. Every fusion reactor, every quantum computer, every medical scanner, all vectors. They're already stage 2-3. They just don't know it. Should we inform them? Why? Their isolation serves our purpose. Let them discover their transformation alone, without outside variables. Luna will become our purest test case. Hour 16. The bunker deepens. Armstrong Base. Defense Command. Commander Akwu watches her tactical displays with grim satisfaction. The defensive platforms were responding perfectly, creating overlapping fields of fire that would make any approach to Luna a nightmare. All stations report ready, Commander, her aide reported. Nuclear assets armed and targeted. If anyone tries to force the issue, they die, Akwu finished. And possibly we die with them, but that's always been Luna's way. We're the 2 million who chose an airless rock over Earth's tyrannies. Death before submission is our founding principle. Any unusual readings from our population? The officer frowned at his displays. Define unusual. Aurora Station transmitted something. If it was a biological or nanotech, our people might have been exposed through traders, visitors. Running bioscan correlation now, the officer said, then froze. Commander, we're showing synchronized breathing patterns in 47% of the population. Heart rate synchronization in 23%. Neural pattern overlaps in 12%. Akwu felt ice in her chest. How long? According to archived medical data, it's been increasing steadily for 6 years. We just never looked for it before. Are we compromised? Unknown. But if we are, we're now locked in here with it. Whatever's happening to humanity, Luna will face it alone. Akwu looked at the display showing Earth burning, Mars paralyzed, Mercury ascending, and in the middle, Luna, 2 million souls on a rock, severed from humanity by choice, possibly transforming into something else by accident. Then we face it like Selenians, she said, alone but unbreaking. Whatever we become it on our terms. The bunker was sealed. The trade routes were closed. The transformation, if that's what it was, would happen in isolation. Luna had chosen the ultimate quarantine. From war, from politics, from humanity itself. Whether that would save them or doom them, only time would tell. But for now, Luna endured. Alone. Well, we made it to the end. Wow. Thank you for sticking around. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Leave a little message down there about what kind of genres you want to see next, what was your favorite story, all that good stuff. And again, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you again next time. I'm so glad you were able to make it to the end. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. You could be the one that sends the channel to the moon. Don't miss the next grand adventure. So always, tune in next time. Have a good one.